I remember the sound of bones snapping, clean, sharp, like a green branch under pressure, and the way its eyes turned to me in that moment. Yellow, human and not human. I knew then it wanted me to wear its mark. Nightbound Bloodline presents The Adventure of the Wolf Marked. What you are about to hear is a first-hand account sent to us by someone who claims to have survived an encounter deep in the northern highlands. The witness has chosen to go by the name Elias Rowe. He insists his story is true, and that what he saw wasn't human, or at least, not anymore. His story begins with a hunt, and ends with something far darker than death. My name's Elias Rowe. I'm 34 years old, a field biologist by trade, mostly tracking wolf populations across northern Europe. I don't drink. I don't believe in ghost stories. And before this, I'd never even seen anything that made me question what's real. But what happened out there? It tore everything I thought I knew about nature apart. I'd been in the Carofen forest for 6 weeks on a tracking study. Wolves had started taking cattle from a remote farming community near the edge of the woods. The locals were calling it the old curse, the return of the wolf marked. I laughed when they said that. I figured wolf marked was just a bit of folklore, one of those stories meant to scare kids away from the forest at night. It was early October. The nights were colder, and the air smelled of wet moss and iron, like rain over stone. My cabin stood near a stream that ran black under the moonlight. During the day, I'd follow tracks, fresh paw prints in the mud, larger than normal, but still within the range of a dominant male. That's what I told myself. Still, something about the forest felt off. The wolves had gone silent. No howls, no prints that led anywhere. Everything was still, except for the wind and my breath fogging in the morning. That Friday, I hiked out farther than usual, 6 miles past the marked route. Searching an old ridge trail locals said was haunted. The place had a name even the maps carried half-faded, Wolfrath's Spine. Tall black pines stood there like grave markers. The soil was rich with bones, elk, deer, and something else I couldn't quite place. By dusk, the forest turned to shadows so thick that the light of my lantern felt swallowed. I remember saying to myself, "Another hour, Elias. Just another hour." But it started then, the feeling. You ever feel watched, but there's no sound? Not even the whisper of wind in branches? That's how it was. At first, I thought it was a trick of the trees. But something moved, slow, deliberate, keeping pace with me beyond the line of sight. I paused, it paused. I stepped, it moved again. My skin prickled like I was walking through static. The smell drifted in next, musky, like wet fur mixed with old meat. Then a hollow crack echoed, far too loud to be a twig, and I saw a silhouette between the pines. Tall, wrong in shape. I raised my flashlight. Nothing, just mist and bark. I should have turned back right then, but curiosity kept me there. Biologist instinct, maybe. I wanted to rationalize it. Bear, elk, anything explainable. But I knew the forest wasn't right that night. It was holding its breath. I pushed deeper into the woods, every step an argument against common sense. My head told me to turn around, but my feet kept moving. That's when I saw it, clearer this time. Through a break in the trees, standing between the half-risen moon and the fallen logs. It was massive, 7, maybe 8 feet tall. The shoulders were too broad, hunched forward, like a bear fighting gravity, except it stood up straighter than any animal ought to. Its fur was matte black and patchy, thick around the neck and shoulders, thinner down the sides, streaked in places with mud or maybe old blood. Its head wasn't a wolf's exactly. The snout was too short, the jaw too broad and human-like beneath all that hair. I saw long, pointed ears that twitched and scanned. But the eyes, dear God, the eyes, they glowed yellow, reflecting the moon and my flashlight both, intelligent in a way that no animals should ever be. Not wild, not afraid. It blinked slow. Then it smiled, showing teeth like an old grave, jagged and too many for a canine mouth. Its hands, and that's what they were, hands, not paws, gripped the trunk of a fallen birch. Fingers as long as carving knives, tipped with claws that curved black as pitch. It was breathing, hard but silent. Its chest rose and fell with monstrous rhythm, fogging the air like a dragon in winter. For a moment, I stood paralyzed, held captive by those eyes. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe a bear diseased with mange, maybe a trick of shadow and fear. But it was watching me, studying me, like it understood every flicker of doubt in my mind and enjoyed it. I know what I saw. This was no bear. It was as real as you or me. I took a step back and it mirrored me. Fluid, predatory. It didn't drop to all fours. It moved upright, sliding between trees without a sound, as if the forest itself parted for it. I turned, trying not to run, but panic betrayed me. Branches clawed my arms, and the cold stung my lungs. All the while, I heard it, heavy steps, just out of sight. Sometimes breaking twigs, sometimes only silence where steps should be. Once, I heard it imitate my own breathing, a low, ragged huff behind me, like it was mocking the fear leaking from my pores. I cut off the trail, torches and GPS forgotten, crashing into brambles and slick mud. The darkness pressed close, every sound bouncing off the trees in echoes warped by terror. I glanced over my shoulder and saw it, always just far enough to let me hope escape was possible, but never letting me go. At one point, I swore the thing grinned, lips peeling back from those awful teeth. It tapped a tree with its claws, 3 deliberate knocks, then ducked behind the trunk as I spun. It was playing with me, and I felt small, utterly prey. My legs burned. My chest felt ready to burst from terror and exhaustion. But I kept going. I had to. Logic failed me. Only survival remained. Finally, I burst through the brush into a clearing choked with mist, a place I'd never mapped, unfamiliar and echoing with the rush of my own pulse. For a moment, the steps stopped. All I heard was my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I dared to hope maybe it was gone. But then, out of the fog, I heard a deep, rumbling growl. I wheeled around, flashlight trembling in my grip, and saw 2 yellow eyes staring from the mist's edge. They blinked, once, twice, almost kindly, as if assessing whether I was worth the chase. Then the eyes vanished, just like that, and I heard footsteps, slow at first, then breaking into a lope that dissolved into the night. I collapsed, shaking so hard my teeth rattled. My skin felt cold and wet. I'd fallen, or maybe I'd vomited. I don't remember. It was hours before I could stand. When I finally stumbled back to the cabin, dawn was only an hour away. I never went back to Wolfrath's spine. I stopped tracking wolves. Every howl in the distance now makes my blood run cold. I close my eyes and see yellow, intelligent eyes. They haunt me in every wood, every dream. This experience changed me. I'm no longer a skeptic. I know what I saw. And if there's one thing I wish I could forget, it's the knowledge that I was marked, chosen, and spared for reasons that still crawl in the dark corners of my mind. Elias Rowe never returned to Wolfrath's spine. The forest and its secrets remain unbroken by daylight, untouched by explanations. The memory of that night, of those eyes, the silence, and the mark never faded for him. We share his story because the wild places on our maps are more than fossil bones and folklore. They are still alive, breathing behind their bark and mist. Encounters like these remind us, it's not the monsters we imagine that haunt our dreams. It's the ones that walk ancient paths, waiting in old forests under blood moons, indifferent to our disbelief. Horror isn't always loud or sudden. Sometimes it's a slow realization that the world we thought was tame still keeps secrets. And sometimes you come home marked by something that never belonged to man. If you have your own story, if you've seen something in the woods or felt a gaze that was colder than nature itself, share it in the comments. We read every account. And if this tale disturbed you, like and subscribe for more chilling stories of the unknown. This has been Nightbound Bloodline. Thank you for listening. Until next time, sleep with one eye open.